is Kahlab Martin, and we're going to be talking about the future of community. Today I have an excellent guest, Maggie. She is a founder, a innovator, a community builder. I would just love for today for us to just have a conversation about the future of community and where she sees the future going. So,
hi, thank you for having me on here. And future of community. Wow, that's big.
Yeah, I want to say it's really big, but I think what you're doing here at Sesh is a part of that future. So I would just love first to know a little bit about who is Maggie. How did you get started today?
Oh, how did I end up here?
Yeah, how did you end up here?
Oh man, I'll try and be quick about it.
Yeah.
So born and raised in the Midwest. My parents were divorced. My dad lived in inner city St. Louis, and my mom lived on a 500-acre farm. So I grew up, city life, going to school in the city, but then weekends and holidays, I was on the farm with cows and pigs and driving tractors and shooting a bow and arrow. Went to college, graduated college with an English degree from Bradley University, and at the time I was working at Miller Lite. My boss at Miller Lite was like, "You need to get the heck out of Illinois." And I was like, "Where am I going to go?" He was like, "I'll get you a job." And I was like, "But where?" And he was like, "I don't know. Where do you want to go?" And my excellent processing skills of a 22-year-old said, "I want to go to Vegas." And so I moved to Vegas at 22, 23. And I was a promoter there. And I think that's where this whole community thread kind of started in my life. Because as a promoter in Vegas at the time, this was pre-housing bubble. There were industry nights, and you would go to the industry nights at the different pools or nightclubs or after hours places and just get to know the door people at different clubs. So then that way, when you showed up and you had, somebody who wanted to buy a couple tables and lots of bottles, you could just walk right up to the front. They would recognize you, and your guests would not have to wait in line. And then the club pays you, right? And so it was about organically building those connections, so that way they recognized me when I came out. I met my husband at a bar there. He got a job in New York, so we moved to New York. And fast forward that into, we got married, we had a kid, we moved out of the city, out of Manhattan, upstate-ish, I guess you could say. And I had my jewelry business, and I was opening a little shop, and the parking hours out in front of my shop were really weird, and a couple of my clients got parking tickets coming to visit me. And I couldn't figure out the hours, and I didn't want my clients to keep getting tickets. So I just walked up and down the street and talked to the other business owners, and come to find out, there were, on this one street, there were 38 female-owned businesses. And I kind of wrote a blog about it, and then the local newspaper picked it up, and it became a thing. And so at that time, we were renting, and we purchased a house in the next village over. This was along the Hudson River. And when I moved, they were like, "Wait, you can't just leave." And I was like, "I'm literally moving 2 miles downriver. I'm not just leaving." They're like, "You need to do something." And I was like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And they go, "Well, there's no chamber of commerce. Why don't you start a chamber of commerce?" And so I did. And it was again, that putting myself out there and meeting people so I could make the connections for my business, right? And eventually that chamber grew from that one little village into 5 villages, and we changed our names and became the Rivertowns Chamber of Commerce because we wanted to encompass everybody. I then moved to Houston.
So why did you move to Houston though?
So my husband, once again, got a new job.
Okay.
And they had 2 offices, one in New York and one in Houston. And when we moved to New York, I made him promise me that if we ever got the opportunity to move somewhere warm, we would.
So you was on the first ticket out. You was like, "Let's go."
Yes. 2 10 years to the day, like the exact day that we moved to New York. We left New York 10 years on July 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to Houston. And I freaking love it here.
So one, that's like so cool. And when I think about the like small details in there, is like you said, I just did it. I just went. And so like the power of you just putting yourself out there is just keep putting you in different spaces. And I feel like you're a natural community builder, but would you say you're like a natural problem solver too?
I think so. I think I for a really long time I had insomnia, and I didn't realize that was linked to my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just kind of always walking around with the gears in my head going.
Mm.
And I see a problem and I'm just like, "Oh, well, how would I solve that?"
Mm-hmm.
And then if it seems like doable, I just jump in and I do it. I don't know.
So that's like your like superpower. It's like,
I guess, yeah.
that's actually really cool. I feel like the people that have like that, like I can't turn it off, so I'm just gonna solve things are like always like the coolest people in the world. I'm definitely one of those people. So
Okay.
I support it. Okay, cool. So now you're in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about like planting the roots in Houston, starting the business. Like, how do we get here?
Yeah. So I brought the jewelry company with me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't bring the Chamber of Commerce with me for, I think, obvious reasons. And I needed a place for my jewelry studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having trouble trying to find one. I didn't want to be in a strip mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to be in like, I don't know, in with a bunch of artists. I wanted something with foot traffic, but something that felt high end, and I felt like I wasn't finding it. And so I started looking for communities of people who I felt could help me do that. And I found my former business partner at the time on Instagram. She was hosting a meetup called Girl Sesh, and I started going. And it's the craziest thing. I learned about Central Market from this meetup. And like that's a massive grocery store. But then I also learned it's really busy. So just go to HEB. And I didn't know HEB existed when I moved here. So it's just like getting to know people in a hyper local community. You get to learn those things, or like when to avoid rush hour. And so through learning the community and hearing Meredith talk about wanting to build a space to hold the community, I was like, heck yes. One, that solves my problem. Two, I want more community. And so that was like December of 2018 that we became business partners. We spent all of 2019 looking for a space. We found it, and we opened that first space February 3rd of 2020.
2020. So now we're just going to pause right there because we're going to say something. COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready to hear this story.
It's quite the story. We were open all of 6 weeks. We closed. We lost every single client. We had no incoming revenue. And all of our money we were just bleeding capital because we were paying our bills. And it was really scary. We applied for PPP, and we thought we didn't get it. And then I want to say June, our governor reopened the state. And for us, we kind of looked at it as do or die, like stay closed and stay closed for forever, or reopen and try, right? And just see. And we reopened, but the timing was during George Floyd's murder and all the global protests. And we felt really conflicted because here we needed to be at our business because she was going to fail. But at the same time, we wanted to be supporting our community and be protesting with them and we couldn't.
Mhm.
So we opened our doors complimentary that summer to
Wow.
any nonprofit fighting social injustice.
Oh, well, that's amazing.
Yeah. And we got 2 nonprofits in there,
Mhm.
and that kind of saved our souls, because it gave us people in face masks to take pictures of who are social distancing in the co-working space
Mhm.
and put that on social media and let other people here in Houston know that, like, we're doing this and you're welcome here too.
Yeah.
And by the following summer, there was no place for us to sit, and we had to move because we had no more seats to
Mhm.
put people in. And so that's how we ended up here at this location here in Midtown.
Yeah, so it seems like by you just sticking your neck out there and trying to do something, trying to build community, trying to like be there for other people, you ended up like outgrowing the current situation. So it's like that test of faith like got you to like another level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now you're in this amazing space. And I remember you did you like design this space? Tell me like about like the process of just building, and then we'll talk about the community after.
Yeah. So um, this space sat empty for years before we moved in.
Mm-hmm.
So when we moved in, we actually moved in on the second floor, and we completely gutted and renovated the first floor. And we did all the floor plans ourselves, um, picked out, you know, every fixture and finish. And then when the first floor was getting close to opening, um, our partners at West Elm kept delaying our furniture shipment because this would have been end of 2021 going into 2022, and so supply chain stuff was just
Crazy.
a nightmare. And so a portion of our shipment came in, but we didn't know when the other stuff was coming in, and so we had over 10,000 square feet to fill with furniture. So we just started going to Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. We went to empty office buildings and like cleaned out their desks and their chairs. We we even drove out to a barn in the middle of nowhere and drug these ginormous tables out of the barn. These tables had been sitting in the barn for so long that the asphalt had like melted, and we had to like dig the bottom of the tables out of the asphalt and load them into the back of my truck.
Talk about a story.
Yeah, I mean it's just, and so like everything that you see in Sesh, we carried in here with our bare hands. We did all the design. We hang all the artwork. Um, it's a very curated and cared for and loved space, and I
Mm-hmm.
think, I hope that when people come to that space, that's the energy that they feel.
Mm. So that's oh man, I'm getting goosebumps in here. No, that's really cool. So talk about like the people that are in here. So now you built it and you curated this energy, this vibe here. But like talk about the people. Like how does that translate to the people that are in here and the community that you build?
Yeah, so when we set out to build this space, we wanted it to feel welcoming
Mm-hmm.
and feel almost like a home away from home, so to speak, because so many times you commit yourself to a job or a career and you end up spending so much time at that place. And if you don't feel comfortable there, are you really like feeling fulfilled as a person? And so we wanted to make sure that when people came here, we were attracting those people who were doing the work that they enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, when we talk about people here at Sesh and the types of people, we have creatives, we have a lot of nonprofits and community organizations, and if we niche down a little bit further, we have women, communities of color, and the LGBTQ plus community as well. And they now more than ever are pulling together in this crazy time that we live in.
It is a crazy time for sure. So how do you like curate like the community aspect? How do you bring people together? So now you have people in here, people are here. Like, what do you do to encourage people to like connect and meet and feel comfortable?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time out in the community. I'm out 3-4 times a day attending different types of events. I firmly believe in also being super active as a community leader. So I'm vice chair of the Midtown Management District, which is the district that Sesh is in, which allows me to help impact, the safety for the public here in Midtown. It helps me impact the business community and like economic development, and even just the cleanliness of the streets, right? And it goes back to, I think, something I said earlier, where when a place looks and feels cared for, it is cared for. And I feel like that's what I want people to know. Like, that's how I feel about Houston. It's like, and that's why I invest so much time in my community. It's like, this is my home. This whole city is my home. And I want everyone to be cared for. And like, I can't do that unless I'm out there and I'm talking to you and I'm hearing what your experience is and what your problems are. Getting like, you're living life through your camera lens, right? And your viewfinder is only seeing certain things, but those aren't the things that are in my viewfinder. And so like, I need to know what you're seeing and experiencing in order for me to come back to this physical location and make sure that we're addressing that and we're acknowledging that and that we're holding space for those experiences here. So it's like curating all the parts of Houston and trying to like thread them back to Sesh.
So it's almost like you're playing doctor and like you're like analyzing, getting the chance to talk to people, and then you're like, okay, cool, this is a space that you can be comfortable in. This is a space that you can meet other people. So it's like you're like like the doctor in a sense.
A doctor, or like, I don't know. I was trying to think of like an image, and I was like, almost like weaving. I feel like, like that you're collecting the different threads and weaving a tapestry or something.
To make a beautiful masterpiece. Like, this space is a beautiful masterpiece.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I do have another question. This ties back into like, at the root, what inspires you? At the very root, what inspires you?
Unlimited possibilities of life. Like, I grew up with a parent who didn't let me do things, didn't encourage me, didn't empower me. And then once I went to college and like out into the real world and opened up my eyes and got to be like, oh my gosh, there's somebody who does that as a job. I never knew that existed. And look over there. There's a building I've never seen before. It was just like, I'm like to me, the world is my candy shop and I can go try everything. And I think that that's what inspires me, is that I feel like I was held back for so long that like, I'm just getting started. And like, I want to go and I want to do and I want to meet all the people and see all the things. And like, that's the inspiration to me. It's like that, like, I guess maybe learning, too. Yeah.
So with that inspiration deep inside of you, where does the future lie? What is the future of community? What is the future for Maggie? What is the future for you?
Well, I think the future of community is up in the air a lot right now. I think there's a lot that we could do in terms of being better listeners and coexisting. I think that we can express our beliefs and our points of view, but not necessarily have it be mine and yours. That they can share space together and coexist, and that we all live in the gray, and that's okay, right? Like, I think that that's where the future of community exists, and acknowledging that, like, we can agree to disagree. I don't need to convert you into believing what I believe or thinking the way I think. I can just express it and you can receive it as the listener. I think that's, to me, the future of community, is living in a space where we can share that.
Okay, awesome. I love that. I think, and that's one thing, like, as I'm getting older, as I'm learning, it's like not everybody has to agree or feel what I feel. And it's like find a way to, like, we're cool. Like, you know, we can just be and exist. And I think those shared experiences make, like, they weave all, everything weaves all together because, like you said, the viewponder thing. So that's cool.
Yeah. And I believe that Houston is that future, because we are the most diverse city in America. And I think for whatever reason, we're making it work. And maybe it's not perfect, right? Because there is evolution and things are changing, and we have to adjust and adapt to those changes. But I think we as a city and a greater community can show the rest of the world how it could be done.
Oh man, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. But no, I honestly agree. Like, since I moved to Houston from, like, Lawton, Oklahoma, a super small town, like, Houston has allowed me to meet so many amazing people and, like, build and just grow community. It's like, I like Houston.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the special things about Houston is I always joke that it's like the biggest small town that there could ever be. You know, like, everybody kind of knows everybody. And the difference, for example, from, like, let's say New York to Houston, is I feel like people in Houston are accessible and they're open to helping other people. Whereas in New York, everybody's like closed up in their high rise. They're really super focused on their success and they don't have time to help anybody else. And they don't want to help anybody else because they're only focused on their success. Whereas, like, here in Houston, it's like there's so many different industries and communities, and we're spread out over so many different parts of the city that, like, we kind of have to come together to make it work. And so, like, people are just a little bit more open to that.
I think that's, like, the golden opportunity, especially when I see that, like, collaboration, bringing people together, finding all of these different, you know, ecosystems and just bringing them all in one, and no pun intended, collaborating, is like the secret sauce, or like that, like, cheat code to unlock, like, endless possibilities.
Yeah, I agree. Right. It's like symbiotic, right?
So my last question, if anybody's watching this that looks up to you and they're like, man, what she's doing is amazing, like, everything is amazing, what would be your advice to a younger version of you?
Oh, my advice to a younger version of me: get started sooner. Like, really, like, don't hesitate. Again, it's never going to be the perfect time. You're never going to have enough money. Like, you're never going to have every portion of the plan lined up just right. Just jump in and, like, just start doing the thing, whatever the thing is. That would be my advice, because I wish I had done that sooner.
That's excellent advice. And I can look back at myself and say, bro, just start, man. Just start.
Right.
And I'm receiving that advice right now where I'm at. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna just go for it. I'm gonna just do it, and we're gonna find out what happens later.
Yeah. Build the plane as you're flying.
Mhm. So yeah. So before we end, is there any last things like how can we support you?
Oh, man. Well, come to Sesh, obviously,
Mhm.
right? Whether you need somewhere to work for the day, you need an office, you need a conference room for a meeting, you need a professional background during an interview. Um, but also, we started a nonprofit called the Sesh Foundation, and it comes back from our experience in 2020. And we are taking donations and raising money to sponsor space for nonprofits and community organizations that are doing the good work and impacting Houstonians.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
At Sesh Coworking on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok for however long that lasts. Seshcoworking.com. And if you're going to follow me as an individual, definitely follow me on LinkedIn because I'm on there all the time.
Okay, cool, cool. Thank you so much for sitting down and just having a conversation. This was amazing. I'm ready to go have a great day and conquer the world now. So
Please
thank
do.
you so much. And I'm your host again, Kahlab Martin, and we're talking about the future. So let's collab.